Kimberly, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about, don't give too much information for my sake, but just a little bit about what's going on.
We've just been having problems with shadows and seeing things like that, and things being misplaced, and there's a lot of bad vibes. We've had plenty of people come up here. My daughter, for one, she had friends out here and they were actually scared to even go outside. I've had physical experiences myself.
Like what?
I've had actual scratch marks, and I've actually had a burn on me.
These are just super dark, borderline, if not demonic. That's where that scratch and the burn comes from, because they're all heat. No retaliation. I'm just asking you to move, or I'll remove you. I'm going to give them about 4 more seconds, and if they don't leave, I'll remove them. All right, I'm gonna take care of it then.
And did she take care of it? For sure. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Unexplained Cases Live. We've got a full house tonight. You got Rick Garner, you got Darren Dedo, Maryam the medium, Angela Boley, our psychic artist, is actually joining us early, and we'll talk about that shortly. And you just saw her, but then also we got Charlie as well. Kim and Charlie, welcome to the broadcast.
Yeah, nice to have you guys.
Hi.
So that little intro was basically done from our other broadcast, which is Unexplained Cases Medium, that airs on Sunday afternoons at 4:30 Eastern. And so that was an introduction to this case. And at the end of that, Maryam felt it was necessary to come back because there was quite a bit of activity going on, to say the least. Basically, Darren, I know that you obviously weren't part of that broadcast on the afternoons, but you kind of looked at a little bit of the surrounding area. Maybe we should set up the audience with kind of like, let's set the stage for what's going on around here before we get into some of the rules for tonight.
Yeah, and Charlie and Kimberly, maybe you guys could, we know you're in Snow Hill, and it's kind of a rural area. What is it like around you? Are you pretty isolated out there? Is there a town out there? I'm just curious with all this kind of activity that's going on, the landscape of where you are.
We're about 5 miles. We stay about 5 miles out of Snow Hill.
Okay.
But where we live at, we're next to it. We're in the woods. I mean, we got maybe 3 or 4 neighbors, but we all kind of stay to ourselves, and it's isolated back here.
And when? Go ahead. I'm sorry, because I remember you said that you guys live by a mill. Was that correct?
Yeah, we live behind the lumber mill. I work at the lumber mill. We live behind it.
Okay. And so, do you think the woods have to do with this? I know that we're not so much the home, but we think the area around there. The Pocomoke Woods. There's a lot of stories about apparitions, slaves, orbs. Fire orbs, all this stuff. This is crazy. I've never seen a place like this before.
Where we're at maybe a quarter mile away. When I grew up in this area. I grew up maybe a quarter mile down the road. And when I was younger, I used to explore these woods like Huck Finn. I mean, that was my playground. And we had my mom and dad had friends that was a general contractor. They built homes. And they ended up having to Washington Smithsonian to where they were building a home because they come up on Indian burial ground and stuff.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and there used to be like a slave trade type thing through here because Worcester County has not always been Worcester County. It was actually part of Somerset County at one time.
Okay.
And it was mainly like a big Indian ground, and then over time in slavery. And then just, through generations, different cultures, different things. And it's pretty much all happened in these woods. I mean, you can go in these woods and you can actually feel like the majestic part of it. And then the creepy part. And then, it's definitely a very heavy place.
I was like that energy field when you walk in there. How long have you lived on the property?
5 years.
5 years. So when you first moved in there 5 years ago, did the activity start, or is it something just in the last couple of years? What was the very what was the very first thing that happened? I'm just curious.
In the back corner of the yard, I used to always get a creepy feeling, and I'm like an overseer of the mill. And there's times I have to go down there 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm fine walking down there. It's just coming back. I just get an eerie feeling that I feel like somebody's watching me. Hair stands up on the back of my neck. I mean, I got a cat that comes running out of the woods and it causes me to run.
Wow.
And it's real dark. It's dark back here. Even on a full moon night, it's dark.
It's eerie dark.
Did you ever get? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying it's like this dark like heaviness. It's weird, but yeah, he's seen that, and I've seen like shadows of like animals, dark animal entities looking things, and we've seen what I call shadow people. I've seen them myself. We both have seen them, and we've heard a lot of different things. So we've heard anywhere from kids to babies crying to me and my son. We were sitting in here one day, and Charlie was outside, and all of a sudden, me and my son both heard it was like this growl, but it was like calling Charlie.
Oh wow!
So we got up and we ran out of the house, and Charlie was like, "What's wrong with you?" And just like I said, just some crazy stuff happens.
Wow!
I even saw stuff before I moved here because I've worked at the mill longer than I've lived here. And I used to what they call feed the planer, run a machine, and there'd be times I'd feel like somebody was standing off to the corner, and I'd catch like a glimpse of somebody at the corner of my eye, and I turn and there's nobody there, like somebody's just standing there watching work. It's just all kinds of freaky stuff that's happening around here.
And Kimberly, you had some physical stuff, right? Sorry, Charlie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I've had 3 actual physical things happen to me. One, I was in the shower one time, and I felt something scratch me on my back, and it freaked me out. And then there was another time I was sitting in my chair, and out of the blue, I had 3 scratch marks on each one of my legs. I actually still have the scars from them. I checked the other day, and they're still there. And I had a burn on my head. Yeah. Wow. It was pretty creepy. Freaked me out to the point sometimes I don't even sit in the house during the daytime without him here. And at nighttime, I refuse to open my windows or doors.
I was wondering after. I mean, what do you think, Maryam? After you did your cleansing or got rid of the entities, guys, I was just curious what's happened since Maryam helped you out. Has it gotten worse, better, same?
It was like it wasn't like a scary, nervous, heavy feeling for a while. But I did tell him that yesterday when we went to the woods walking. I thought I try to tell myself it's in my head. But then sometimes I have to realize it's not. It's just something warning me. But we both, I was like, I had to get out of the woods. And since then, yeah, some things have been going on.
I mean, that day I only dealt with, I think, 2 energies. And it was like, I don't even know where to begin with it today. I mean, I'll know, but I mean, it's that big. It's just while you guys were talking just now, this was the first show that I've ever been told to take my dog out of the room because he wouldn't be safe in here, which is why I got up just now and let him out. So,
Maryam, actually, I'm going to tell you something. It's kind of crazy you said that because we have a Siamese cat and his name's Coco. And usually when he gives it at night, he don't want nothing to do with us because he's been out all day. But he's actually sitting at our feet right now.
Oh,
so I sense that, and I know.
You do.
I know.
Sorry, Darren, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that maybe this is a good point. I mean, this is, it's very interesting and it's a, great conversation, but there's a serious element to it, right, Maryam? I mean, you talked about it with your dog that, people need to be careful. And I'm sure you have some instructions for some of our viewers tonight because this is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, well, so I brought Angela here as support and backup, and I was saying she's one of the few
mediums I've ever met that has that. I don't like using the word power because it makes other people feel less than. But the education and experience to walk in something like this fearlessly with me, and to not walk in and start playing around. Ooh, what's over here? Ooh, what's over there? It's not really. That's not what this is about.
Right.
But and then we also invited some. Jordan is one, and we asked earlier in the show for some of our other regular viewers to join to support, so that the amount of light coming in is much stronger than the amount of dark that's there, because there's so much dark there. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what it means to be protected, and I think it's important that everyone understands that whether you're a medium or you're not a medium, everyone has protection. Okay. I always use this example of, I can be, you can go into a violent neighborhood that's notorious for mass murders, drive-by shootings. You can go in there and have a bulletproof vest and 3 bodyguards, but still get shot at. And you could even still die,
Mhm.
So the level of protection that's not always the concern. Really, the concern or awareness or education is, am I going to engage in this? Am I listening to my guidance on am I supposed to be here? And what am I going to do while I'm here? I'm not supposed to be everywhere. And the only reason why we're revisiting this is because I was told I could be here again and I could help. But there's places that if I'm told I'm not supposed to be there, then I don't go there. It doesn't matter how much protection or awareness I have, you just don't go. You follow your guidance. And if you're following your guidance, your knowledge, and your ability to stay neutral, which is key in these situations. And it's going to be key for Charlie and Kimberly, who are living in this environment. We're not going to be able to clear it 150%, but we're going to try and help and do more. But being neutral is key. And I think the struggle would be for Kimberly and Charlie, when you're experiencing something like this, your instinct is to ask, do I need to be physically concerned for my well-being right now? And so asking someone to be neutral can be kind of tricky in that situation. But Charlie, you have such experience and connection to that land. And Kimberly, you have just this, wealth of animal guides and spiritual guides that use this as your ability to go deeper into your spiritual connections of land and of why you're here, to help guide you, because it's not going to fully go away. What is going to go away is some of the big stuff, but more importantly, your ability to be able to differentiate with that instinct, and then trust that, listen, if I'm feeling someone following me, I mean, Charlie, let's be honest, if there was a human being following you, you're pretty scary. You'd probably turn around and kick their ass, So using that same approach without the emotion behind it, because emotion can feed it. So just neutrally turning around and being like, what's up? I'm not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you or me. And facing it, and that even means if you're feeling it behind you, turn around and look at it and go, what are you going to do?
Sort of like standing your ground.
Yeah.
Yes, and I don't recommend that for everyone, but for these guys, yeah.
There's been times, like she told y'all before, we can put something somewhere and go back 5 minutes later and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times I've gotten so tired of it, I'll come in the house and I've just told it, get the hell out of my house. I pay the bills here, get the hell out. And it goes away. I mean, it stops for a while. It stops for maybe a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. But then it'll start back up. Put something down, go back for it 5 minutes later, and it's gone.
And that's where I don't know how much we're going to be able to do. A lot. That I know. As I was told very clearly to bring Angela, we'll be able to do a lot. But I'm hoping that with the work we do, combined with you already having that awareness, will slow it down to where it's happening, every few months or something, not as often as it is now.
Yeah, because it can be almost an everyday thing.
I can deal with it as long as they don't touch me.
Right.
Yeah, no physical harm. Well, mental harm too. I mean, gosh, it's got to be stressful dealing with
Oh
this.
yeah. Oh yeah, it messes with you psychologically. So yeah, me and him both experience a lot of different things. So let's just go ahead and
get out of here.
I'm a little anxious right now. It's like, I'm not like scared, but I'm kind of like excited in a way because I've been watching, like I said, Maryam, and I've been doing certain things. So I think I'm starting to get in touch with certain things, like knowing, like my gut instinct was always get out, but it's my guy telling me it's not safe to go. That's why we got out of there. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's cool.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what Angela painted.
For sure. That's what I was about to pop in and share.
Yeah, we'll turn.
Where'd the guy with the weird hat go?
This happened.
Oh my God! What is that?
What the mother of crap?
What I did was do.
Is that the goat man?
It's something. It's not goat-like. It's more of it more takes after the insect kind, but it is an entity that's underground. Because what I did a really close feeling of the land. What is on top of the land? What's under the land? Is there something going on with the land? Now, this is an entity. It calls itself the disruptor, but I think it's just a category of life form or entity that it is. It causes chaos. It says it controls air, wind, earth movement, things like that, natural forces. It emerges like every 20 years. It has a cyclical appearance, and it's mainly dormant under the ground and then comes up. And the Native Americans there already put this thing in its place and has boundaries around it, but it can still be a bit disruptive. That's its job, to be disruptive, to create a disruptive energy and to create a lot of chaos. And because it takes after the insect pattern of locusts and things, it has a lot of insect characteristics it's taken on. You see, it's got looks like it's got body armor, it's got insect-like legs, it's got the antenna, it's got like feet like a butterfly or many insects would have. It's a very hostile entity, but my impression was that even if it's going to emerge probably in the next couple of years is when it's due back up, but it's a type of entity where if you just set boundaries, it can't cross those boundaries. You can just put blessed salt on the boundaries of your property and declare nobody, but only those with great or good intentions, only those with loving intentions can cross over this boundary. Nobody else is allowed to cross over, and it will not be able to. That's the impression I get. Because you're kind of reinforcing the boundaries that the Indians already put there to try to keep it held back.
Wow, that's great. What about like saging? Would that be something? I mean, I'm not the expert, but with the salt, would you sage to the home?
Oh, I sage and I salt my house. I do all that already.
Oh, good for you. Excellent.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Angela, is sage strong enough for someone like that?
You need like a flamethrower.
I like to use
right.
Blessed salt. That's I take the salt to a priest, have the priest bless it, and then it's a long-standing Catholic tradition. It works really well. I've used as little as 1 grain to banish a demon from a home.
Okay.
Can I say something about the
photo?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I seen it earlier. That's why I was like, I kept my mouth shut when you said the thing that you drew. I have envisioned it in my head.
Oh wow!
Like it's creepy, but I've seen 2, not just 1.
Okay.
Those ones that remember.
Well, and did you see Jordan just said he's on something similar to that? He's seen that before too.
Before. Yeah.
And Kimberly, you saw 2 of them?
Yeah, they were the ones that were taunting, saying that we're gonna get her, but it's just not time yet. You know what I mean? It was like,
wow.
They're waiting for their strength to mature. I mean, it's just like they have to accumulate energy to do what they want to do, and
that's the feeling
dormant to accumulate it and then release it all at once the energy is built up enough. sort of like an insect when it prepares to leap.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly how I thought in my head, but it was in my head, so I just,
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's fascinating. All right.
What kind of look like Mothman?
All right. Do we do this?
So real quick question. So when we're talking about obviously something like that with, maybe physical or mental anguish, harm like that, but would something like that hide things though? I mean, Angela, would the whole thing like taking things and hiding it?
Yeah, it can move things around. I mean, that's typical of something like that. It wants to create chaos, and it will use it's very calculating. So whatever is going to the least amount of energy to create the most amount of chaos, like almost like a mathematical equation. So one of those things you could do is to take an object that's important and hide it somewhere.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. Cause some chaos.
Real quick, and then I'm going to keep you quiet. Actually, that is so true, because what would happen with things of his would disappear, and after a while he got tired of it, so we would argue, and then little things would disappear, and then he would get more irritated, even though it was little things that normally wouldn't matter. He would get more irritated, and then it would be just like total chaos, just arguing and fussing over something that really didn't even count. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
I want to make sure you know, Kimberly and Charlie, that I'm with that with Angela. It's important to understand that this being is not surfaced. I feel the same thing as she does, that it's not surfaced now. But I also agree. I don't want to say I agree, but I feel the same. I'm on the same path as her, that this is also, what's interesting is it's pretty crazy, but it's also easily, you're able to keep it at bay. And I don't mean easily, I mean following Angela's steps, you keep it at bay. And so what's going to be the reality is, for where you live, it's just maintenance on your home. It's kind of like if you have a leaky faucet. I mean, I don't know anything about maintenance, but I mean, if you have a leaky faucet, is it like always a leaky faucet? Like you always have to do maintenance on it? It's like you're just always going to have to do maintenance to keep this particular being, and so it's like you might go out there and I think, maybe offline, Angela can give you a little bit more information on what it would look like to protect the property. And then you have to, every 3 months or whatever she says, every 4 months, you got to go out and do it again. Just that type of maintenance will keep that thing out there. So you don't have to. So this is like an example where we don't want to go, feed into it and freak out and, oh my God. This in particular, I think it's important we focus on what Angela said, and that it's manageable. It's like having cockroaches. Like sometimes cockroaches just live in certain locations, and I don't know, you can't kill them, can you? So it's like you have to manage the situation somehow. So this is
so you call the Orkin Man or something like that? Get rid of the cockroach, the Orkin Man of spirituality.
I'm just not feeling like this is something that we are supposed to remove as much as it's something Angela is supposed to instruct on how to. It's like you can both live there.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Understood.
But that thing is, like, I feel like that's also symbolic of the strength that is there. But I feel it also underground, also being dormant, also. But it's like she's saying, it's building its energy, but you're also building your energy. So as long as everyone's growing and changing, you can all live amicably, with boundaries.
Right.
All right. Yeah, Johnny agreed with me on that. Okay, so Darren, should we go in?
Yes, I will defer. I'll
Darren's
turn
like,
the.
I'm out.
Well, I'm just. I wish I could help, but this is outside of my pay scale.
Okay. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm like always. I'm going to ask everyone to not jump in. To just ground yourself right now. Ground yourself, connect yourself to the earth. Run your light. Angela is going to be right next to me. We're going to go in side by side, but first we're going to see if there's any instruction on where you want me or where you want us to go, what you want us to do first, or how you want us to approach the situation. I'm on this one photo that's this one area. I feel like it's right behind your house. That's where I went to first. And there's okay, so Angela, I'm going to ask you to come up. It's funny because they showed me this first being, and he's big. He's masculine energy, and he's very much resembling like a Grim Reaper. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, Angela. And I don't scare easily, but I was like, hello. Okay, so Angela, do you feel that, or are you feeling something different?
I'm seeing all sorts of shadow beings. There's small shadow beings that are kind of scattered throughout the woods, and there's something in charge of them, but it feels like he's a little separated from them. It feels like he's actually closer to a main road.
Okay.
Like there's a road that goes by. You see the woods, and there are these little shadow beings. Probably would be indigenous people might be familiar. They're like little trickster spirits, and they're a little here and there, and they're little pockets. And then I get a tall shadow being that's right along the main road. It's like it's standing off the side of the road. It's cloaked. Yeah. It's got a ghostly face with just the eyes. That's just the sockets, eye openings standing there. And it's just it's supposed to be intimidating. It's more like a watcher. It's like watching. It's one that I feel like I could not push over like a tree. it's like our personalities are such that I'm so stubborn and it's stubborn. I'd push it over. I'm not intimidated by it.
Okay, so I think that so let me clarify something first to the audience. There's multiple things that can happen and do happen. But I do want to clarify two things. One is you can remove energies when that is aligned with the cosmos, and that's what is, best for every person involved, spirit or human. And then you can also dissolve energies. And so I say dissolve because nothing can be killed. Everything that dies comes back into its spiritual form. But sometimes that form whether it's an animal, a demonic energy, a human, a plant, an insect, we don't die. We just dissolve and then come back in our newer form. And so if we're going to, I haven't really landed on the word yet, but dissolve seems like the more appropriate word because killing is not a thing. If we're to dissolve certain energies, then we see that as it's simply dissolving because it will then work with the cosmos to regenerate into a being that is one step closer to more light filled on its journey of evolution. So depending on what has to happen with certain energies. So based on what Angela said about this cloaked being, it intimidated me at first, but as you were talking, I feel the same as you. I feel like the question really is, what's it doing there? And what's it? And I asked this kind of not looking for an answer, but just saying, what are you doing there? What are you watching over? But I see the same. It's like it's surrounded by these other beings. There's pockets of energies there. This cloaked being, though, isn't giving any energy to any of us, so it's not one that is bothering anybody else. It's just existing there. And this is what's going on this land that can make it very confusing is, just because an energy is what we consider negative or dark, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't exist. There's a place for everyone and everything in this universe. And so we aren't going to just remove things. That's why I asked Angela, what do you get from that? Okay, this is not for us to remove. So what I want to ask and look at specifically, I'm still right behind your house because there's for some reason around like right behind your house is where there's just this pocket of beings that are, I don't know if I want to use the word stuck, but they are still there. There's one grouping which I see look like American Indian sitting around a fire. And then there's these other, just like, it almost looks like Night of the Living Dead, where there's like these zombie types that are and not real zombies, but they're confused, like, why am I here? What's happening? Why am I here? What's happening? The being that is, God, there's so many. The being that is addressing, like, you guys feel when you're walking. That's who I just found him. Okay. So Angela, I don't know if you already found him, but this being, again, I say masculine, he feels masculine. Mm-hmm. This energy, similar to what's funny is this morning in the morning show, this being has the ability to walk through people. And he'll walk through and like get in front of you, get in your face, and then he'll walk through you and get behind you. And like, he's very similar to like in a movie when they're like kind of showing someone's dark side, you know, like they create like that second image of that person talking to themselves, like, don't do this, or you should go do that, or like in trying to influence people to do harm or to feel scared, to do something dark.
Well, hey, real quick, Jordan had said something about hearing a growl. Do you guys pick up on that at all?
It is growly out there. It's just there's there's the little guys. Those little shadow beings are a bit growly. They're the little trickster guys. They can be very audible. This one that's I call the sneaker. It likes to sneak in, through people and around people. I get a sense in life that he's probably 1800s period. White settler. I would put him probably relatively young, about 30.
Yeah, Jordan said he picked up a mid-30s wearing a beanie hat, which I guess that could be back, in the 1800s.
Right, they would have worn, men even at that time. I mean, if you're working outside a lot, you might wear something like over your head to keep cool. But yeah, he's got I just see him in a kind of light shirt, but it's a loose sleeve shirt and loose pants, but work pants.
He has this affinity for Charlie.
Yeah.
There's this jealousy and there's a connection, Charlie, there's a connection there with the two of you.
Right. It's the work connection, a similar line of work.
From the mill.
Yeah.
I feel like it. Yeah, I feel like it might go a little deeper than that, though. I think there's a it's like a
conflict between two
rivalry
brothers.
or conflict. Yeah.
Like one brother doesn't like the other. One's jealous of the other. That type of conflict. It's almost like you've had a relationship before.
So I'm gonna let's try to I'm gonna confront him. Mm-hmm. This guy though has done some dark stuff.
Yeah.
When he was in body, he did some dark stuff. He smoked, he drank too much, and he did stuff that he doesn't regret. That's the problem. But he did stuff that the average human would regret. And so he's just continuing to live in that altered state and seeking out revenge.
And I'm hearing my guys are telling him that he can't stay there. He's not allowed to stay there. He
Okay.
has to leave. That's what my guides are telling me. He has to leave. He's not allowed to stay here anymore.
I don't know.
Was he-
I'm
Okay.
sorry,
was-
guys. I'm getting like a really bad headache all of a sudden, like really bad.
Okay.
Like I'm
Well-
having.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh goodness!
Well, he was a drinker, so you might be picking up on just his
Was he violent?
painful existence. Yeah, he was violent for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
So here's what we do. Here's the thing, Charlie, your connection to him. I feel like this. Okay. So I'm gonna leave that. I'm going to ask him. It's not that it's not that he's necessarily this big and powerful being that's hard to remove. It's not so much that. It's the emotion that he's carrying. And they're saying that we need to help work out the emotion he's carrying so that he can move. Charlie, is any of this resonating on any level, even if it's just like a gut reaction?
Right where you were saying it's like the main road. It's a main road in the woods. That's where I get a vibe of somebody's following me, or somebody's watching me, or somebody's in front of me. And everybody I tell, they laugh at me because I tell them, I said, when I walk down there in the dark, the flashlight's in front of me. It's where I'm walking. It's not in front of me because I don't want to see nothing run out in front of me because I feel it there.
Yeah, that's him.
And that like when you said the location where he was at, that's where I feel it. When I'm walking down the lane and stuff.
Could he have been the entity that I heard screaming like a growl? Like he actually said his name. Me and my son ran out of the house because I think I understand.
It could be, but right now Angela was able to lead us to him, and so we'll come back to that question, Kimberly, in just a minute. So let's find out from him. Listen, so I want to have this conversation with you. This isn't about telling him, listen, you have to go. This is about discussing some, they're saying like, we got to work out this emotional part here. So, Angela.
Gotta have some boundaries for everybody.
Well, we're gonna remove him. We just have to help work out this. Angela, you said a brother rivalry. What else were you feeling there?
An inadequacy on his part. His felt like his brother was always better than him.
Okay.
And that you remind him of the brother that's better than him, always better, even though that wasn't the reality. I mean, these brothers were relatively equal with one another. He was just always felt like, well, you're the favored. You're the one that's always doing everything right. I'm the one that's always, I'm always doing, it's that kind of feeling that I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as my brother. Kind of feeling.
We're passing. I'm making sure he's hearing all of this. Yeah.
His name's not John, is it?
Angela, you're probably better at names than me.
Somebody has said that. I don't know where the list is, but somebody a while back said, "Is his name John?" I think that's right.
James. I'm hearing James.
James. Okay, well, that's very close.
Yeah. So James, understanding that everything that we understand about you now, and that fear and that insecurity and that sadness, just turned him into a 10-year-old boy. Okay. Oh, all right. Okay,
Kimberly, you doing okay there? You okay?
I am, but everything you're saying about this entity or whatever it is, my dad's name was James.
Oh.
He was a really bad alcoholic. He was really abusive. Everything you're saying, it just sounds like him.
Oh, goodness.
And
I'm so sorry.
me and Charlie were there the day my dad passed. And yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry. How long ago did he die?
He died 5 years ago.
Okay. So we have, with Angela's, brought him now down to his 10-year-old self.
It's
And
time
now
it's time to let him, I need to tell him, you need to forgive yourself. It's all right to forgive yourself. You don't have any punishment to look forward to on the other side. There's healing there. We understand you were hurt. Forgive yourself. Just let it go. Just forgive yourself.
I can't. He's still bumping up against you, Charlie. Did you guys have a relationship, bad relationship?
It was a son-in-law, father-in-law relationship. We got along at times, and times that we just stay away from each other. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, he lived with us.
Okay. All right. So we've got this 10-year-old boy, Angela. We're telling him he's just standing there right now.
Let's do this for you. And it's not impossible to forgive yourself. It's not impossible to let you go. What you're holding on and what's holding you back is a self-judgment, a self-condemnation. Let go of all judgment, all condemnation. I want you to imagine a very beautiful light. You're going to look at it, and there's no condemnation in the light, and all you have to do is take a step towards it, and you feel that weight lift off to you, and it's going to get easier and easier the further you go.
Thank you for that. I feel him going. Does everyone feel him going?
Yeah, he's going. Oh, he met somebody familiar. Met your mom. Say hi to your mom for me. Give her a hug. Give her a big hug. I heard you say, Mother. I heard you say, Mama, I miss you. I miss you. She's gonna take you. Go ahead. Just trust her. You're okay. Just go right with her. You know she loves you still.
How are you doing, Kimberly?
I'm good. It's just everything that's going on is just I already had that feeling. I just never could pinpoint it. But my dad was always real remorsive when he was alive. He kept saying that I did some bad things, Kim. You'll never understand. But he never would tell us. And he always used to say that he was a failure. And I always tried to reassure him that he wasn't. And the night that he died, I don't blame my husband. I really don't. My dad had a drinking problem. And him and my dad drank together that night. Supposedly there was a disagreement, not a physical altercation, but a disagreement between him and another guy, my dad and another guy that was there. And I wasn't home at the time, but I got that feeling in my stomach while I was out that something was wrong. And I kept calling Charlie, calling my dad, Charlie. Nobody answered. And then when I got home, I was so mad at my dad and Charlie. I overlooked the fact that my father was passing at that time. And I have a belief that when somebody dies and they don't realize that they're dying, they don't, I don't want to say get stuck, but they're confused. And the way the coroner said that my father died, I could see him being confused. My dad was a very healthy man, nothing wrong, nothing. 59 years old. The doctor said he just laid down and went to sleep. So in my heart, I really believe that he stuck around for a while afterwards, because when after the coroner and everybody left, the house, I used to have a thing where I would refuse to turn my dad's light off in his room. I said, I'm not going to do it until the day we bury him. It was something in my head that I didn't want to let go. And one day the light went off by itself, and I got mad. I was like, who went in his room? That was my dad's room. You don't go in there. And I knew in a way that what I was doing, I was holding on to him, because in reality, I didn't want to believe that had actually happened, because growing up, that was one of my sister and my biggest fear, her biggest fear, because she lived with my mom, she didn't live with us. I was a daddy's girl. I lived with my dad my whole life. She always had a fear that somebody would call her and say, your dad's gone. And I always had a fear of walking in the house and finding him. So when it happened, it's like, not, I don't say predicting things, but it's like you get that feeling like that's how your life is going to play out. And unfortunately, I feel like my dad cared for Charlie, but I'm a daddy's girl. And we lived with my dad, that I could do no wrong. Lord and know sometimes it was wrong, but I could do no wrong. And sometimes
I think,
my dad did.
Kimberly, I think it's important that you now honor your relationship with Charlie. I think that and I'm not overriding your mourning by any means, but Charlie, it's time for you to put the work in with Charlie, because he was neglected a little bit when your dad was around. And when your dad died, listen, when it's someone's time to go, there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. And when it isn't your time to go, everything will surround to protect it. And when we remember that, it doesn't matter who's there at the time of someone's death. Now, karmically, it does. But as far as that person's fate, has nothing to do with any other human on earth. That person's fate lies in spirit, God, whatever you believe. And I say that because it's really important that even when someone is murdered, yes, that person murdered them. But again, when it's not their time to go, they will be protected. So whoever was there the night your dad died is not responsible for your dad dying. But what matters now is that you are seeing the truth in who your father is and was. And I appreciate the love that he showed you. But I also feel the real need to say it's time for you and Charlie to start loving each other and respecting each other and moving past that and seeing yourselves in a different light. Because your dad, even in his death, was so consumed with his own pain, that this conversation we had with him in spirit form was still all about him. What about the suffering? Think about the suffering that you all went through when he died. Think about the suffering Charlie went through, the suffering you went through, the guilt, the this, the that. That still lives there. But he was stuck in his own pain and suffering. So he's moved through that now. Thanks to Angela, he's moved through that. So now, in death, it's about you all rebirthing. So when somebody dies in our life, it's about the living rebirthing. So now rebirth, love, support, and be the team that you guys have the potential to be such a great relationship. You just have to forgive each other for a lot of things, okay? That's going to really help with a lot of the energy that's around you guys, because the anger that you carry and try not to show, and then the anger that you do show, it's feeding all of these other energies that live on the land. Now, I'm not saying don't be angry. You got to live your life. You got to emote. You got to experience. You got to talk. You got to yell. You got to be that. But you do it so that until you come back, though, to say, I hear you. Agree to disagree, or I hear you. And I'm sorry I didn't see it that way. Because what happens then is you are no longer giving energy to this, all these, it's like you guys were given. Listen, life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And we don't see people as victims, okay? But for the sake of this conversation, to bring some clarity, you all were raised or living came into body on this land that is just filled with psychic craziness, right? And then you both had childhoods that weren't ideal, and you had experiences that weren't ideal. And so you're living in this pool of crazy energetically. Then you're raised in these families that are filled with crazy. And then you're asked to figure out how to live, and how to live with, people are telling you to sage and run light. And you're like, well, sage and run light, my whole life has been the opposite, Right. So I say that so not because you are victims, but because I understand the hand you've been dealt. The good news is, I feel like this is a new chapter. I feel like those that you were born into are gone now, on all levels gone, so that you two are free to go, you want to try things a little differently? Like, maybe let's not repeat patterns. Let's not do what our parents did. Let's try things a little different. It's weird, and people would laugh at us or say it's too touchy-feely, and Charlie would be like, do not let any man know that I'm doing this right now. But it'll bring... I have to do that with my husband now that everyone knows that, but it'll bring you all a sense of peace. And that's what you guys, that's how you made your way here, is because you're both seeking some sense of peace already. Your dad was a massive contributor to the chaos.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, Kimberly, when we lose parents, it's filled with, you got to work out how much he loved you and thanks for being a great dad. Then you work out all the BS that he did to everybody else, that he did to himself, that he did to Charlie, so you have all these tree limbs that you have to address. And it can be big, it can be small. Sometimes you just have to look at it and go, okay, I see it, I know it's there. Now what? Okay. So I'm not taking away that, but that was your biggest piece to this puzzle. Now, are there other energies on this property? Yes. Is there all kinds of crazy stuff happening? Yes. The thing is, between your connection to animal spirits and Charlie's just grounded clarity on his, like what I said in the beginning, where there was a dude behind him, he would be like, I'll take you out before you can take me out. But that combination can set up a barrier around your home that just vibrates out, because you don't want to set up a barrier that is a barrier. Okay. You don't want this. Right. You want something that vibrates out, so that you're always allowing energy to ebb and flow and move through you, move through the land, move through the space. You're just picking and choosing energetically what it is that comes through there. And all that is done subconscious, but it's also done with a conscious awareness of who you are. So, Charlie, I make this comment about how if it was a human standing there, all you do is, and I feel like you can feel what that means energetically, of just carrying yourself energetically with like, listen, we can all live here. That's fine. And then, Kimberly, the witch fairies, right? You're a witch fairy. So you've got the power of Wicca, and you've got the power of the fairies and the animals. It's like, that's, okay, here we go. Profound moment, at least for me. That's why you all are where you are. Because you guys, Charlie, this lifetime was about you coming into this energetic awareness of who you are as a spiritual being. And Kimberly, this is about your power as a Wiccan fairy who understands her connection to spirit and animals. That's why you two were placed on this property. That's why you two were put in this moment of like, how are you asked to survive this? Because you two have the power to survive it. That's why you were put there. You weren't put there because you're weak. You weren't put there because you're dumb or that any other reason. You were put there because you actually have the ability to survive in it. That's a compliment.
Yeah, well, I've actually had my pastor tell me that she'd always tell me, Kim, you're stronger than what you let yourself see. Because I would tell her about everything that was going on, and she always told me, she said, Kim, you have the power within you to make it stop, make it go away, make it, not so in your face. And I guess it's not that I don't feel it, I just was scared of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like being able to really decide on
tap into.
Yeah, just sometimes.
And
I didn't like the way
that's
it
why
made me
that
feel.
daily meditation practice is key, because that's where that true power lies. That's where that true connection to spirit lies. And that's where that fear goes away, because you learn the difference. It's there. That energy is there whether you like it or not. That energy that lives in you, that witch fairy lives in you whether you like it or not. The energy on the land lives there whether you like it or not. You are there in spite of all the obstacles that you both experienced in your life. In spite of all that BS, you are still here. That means a lot. And as what's crazy is I wish you guys could see what I see while I'm talking to you. And I'm sure Angela sees it, because we see your energy sitting in the middle of this land, just surrounded by all this like crazy stuff. You know, and I'm like, I don't live in the middle of that. And look at the work I do. I'm such a little baby. I'm like in my perfect little house with all my little crystals and my little animals. You guys are like in the middle of hell, you know, and you're like, how come we can't figure this out? Well, because you're living on this, you're living just in this insane amount of chaos. Like you, again, in spite of everywhere you've been, you should be incredibly proud of your capabilities to own the space that you have. At the end of the day, you guys own this space. You know, they might mess with you, but they haven't pushed you out. You own that space.
I just don't understand how come when I go to a window at nighttime or I open my door, it's like an instant, like petrified feeling. I don't understand. It's just automatically I'm petrified.
Because I'm
scared.
There's two reasons. One is you don't understand your own energy. See, Charlie's different from you in this respect. Charlie understands his energy. He may not be able to articulate it, but he understands it and he's not afraid of it. You are afraid of your power. You are afraid of your power. You don't know the difference between your own power and the energy out there. That's where you got to find that daily practice, because that's what it'll teach you.
And what I get from you, just being around you, particularly you, Kimberly, you have a lot of female power, a lot of feminine, I'd almost call it goddess power or earth goddess power. It's really intense. It's really powerful. And it feels foreign. It feels so foreign because you may have embodied it. Your life experience you may not have feel or experienced that power, but if you really open yourself up to it, you really have a lot of power to really put very strong boundaries around this area and keep all those little tricksters entities at bay, and really keep a flow of calm in that land, and a blanket of protection over it. You have it's like being in a presence of a mind. It's almost like channeling a mountain or channeling a large, powerful waterfall like Niagara Falls. You have that kind of power within you, and it's a very feminine, divine feminine energy. I'll put it that way. I won't say, maybe not. I mean, we shouldn't use the word goddess, but divine feminine. The strength where it's God and you working together and channeling tremendous power through you has given you a gift of, you have ability of channeling this power of nature through you. You have an intense female nature, the feminine presence of Mother Nature. You can actually channel that through you and use that for your protection.
On a lighter note, that you said that, I think it's kind of cute. I was a landscaper for quite a few years. Love it. I love it. I love it. We had a tree out here, a little tree that blew up out of the yard, and its roots were all twisted and mangled and tore up. Charlie said, just leave it be. It's going to die. And I said, no, it's not. Watch. I planted it, and it should have died. It really should have. And it didn't. It grew back up. And I had these little seedlings, trees, when I was doing landscaping. I picked them. And I forgot about them. They sat out in the sun. It was during the summertime. And they were dried up. And I took a wet paper towel. I put it on it. And I was like, it's going to be okay. They're going to be fine. And believe it or not, they actually, it was pretty cool.
Good for you. That's amazing.
And that's
I know Rick wants to cut us off.
I know Santa Rick is here to take presents. No, we're out of time, but this has been phenomenal. I think,
absolutely.
in a sense, this was a bit of a Christmas miracle, if you will. This show has been outstanding, and so thanks again, Angela, for joining us.
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Folks can always find her on her Facebook page at Psychic Artist Angela Boley. Be sure and reach
Thank
out.
you, Jordan, and
Portrait
every
artist.
audience.
Portrait artist.
Yes, guys, and thank you all for your support. I've seen a lot of people out there saying that we love you.
A
and
lot of
you, and I
support,
appreciate
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody that came.
Absolutely. So everyone, happy holidays, happy New Year.
Thank
and we
you.
will
That's
catch you
right.
on the flip flop.